The movie kicks off with Tom snoozing on his couch. As he wakes up, he peeks out of his window and spots a thief trying to swipe a car. Tom dashes out and confronts the thief, warning them to scram. But they brush him off, and a scuffle breaks out. Tom ends up giving the thieves a thorough beating and warns them never to show their faces again or else. But the next day, the news spreads that Tom roughed up some innocent guys pretty bad. Now the media and his department are all over him. Worried about Tom's behavior, the department sends him to a counselor for a chat. But Tom's not having it. He acts all rude, even sparking up a smoke right in front of the counselor. When the counselor tries to intervene, Tom threatens him and storms back to the police station. Enter Elizabeth, a constable who pays Tom a visit. She spills the beans that she's been undercover for ages, infiltrating drug dealers. To keep up appearances, she even had to dabble in drugs herself. But when she returned, she had a rehab and flunked her surgeon test, leading to her demotion. Tom tries to comfort her, but she's down in the dumps. Later, Tom swings by to see Bruce Roberts, a chief inspector grieving over his wife's death. They pay respects at her wake, and Tom takes Bruce out for a drink to lift his spirits. Next, we witness a lady cop walking down the street when a hooded figure appears and shoots her. Tom rushes to the scene where everyone asks about Bruce, but Tom explains Bruce is mourning and won't be back to work for a bit. Still, they can't brush off the murder of a fellow officer. They call in a temporary inspector named Porter Nash to take Bruce's place, but the other cops aren't thrilled. Rumor has it, Porter's gay and they're not keen on working under him. However, they're given no choice but to follow orders. To everyone's surprise, Porter finds an unexpected ally in the tough-as-nails Detective Sergeant Tom despite his history of violent outbursts. During the investigation, Elizabeth receives a visit from Metal, a young gang member who's worried his crew might have killed someone. Elizabeth promises to check it out but warns Metal it's the last time she'll do him this favor. She lays down the law. If the guy is dead, he has to split town. If he's alive, Metal's got to leave the gang. Elizabeth heads to Tom with the scoop, and after hearing the whole deal, Tom suggests she talk to Craig. Elizabeth then reaches out to Detective Inspector Craig Stokes, who agrees to lend a hand on one condition. Elizabeth has to go on a date with him. Next, a reporter gets a chilling call from a boy named Barry, claiming he's the one who shot the police officer. He brazenly declares he's not done yet, planning to target more cops in the coming days. While on the call, Barry spots another officer and guns him down too. He coldly informs the reporter he's got 8 more officers on his hit list before hanging up. The news spreads like wildfire. Porter pays Tom a visit, questioning if Tom matches up to his reputation. As they chat, Tom realizes Porter knows a lot about him. Just then, they learn another officer has been killed. They spring into action, rounding up all the criminals in the city. They also rally their informants, urging them to be more vigilant than ever. Tom visits one of his informants in the city, Radner, who points him and Porter toward a guy named Barry Weiss. Barry had recently boasted about cruelly setting a police dog on fire as practice. Though Tom and Porter go to Barry's place, they can't find any immediate evidence against him. When Barry opens the door and sees the officers, he's a bit thrown off at first, but being a crafty killer, he keeps his cool. Tom remembers Barry as the guy he brawled with in a billiard hall a year ago. He taunts Barry before leaving with Porter. Meanwhile, Barry quickly grabs some belongings and rushes out to hide them. However, Tom's informant tails Barry and discovers where he stashes his stuff. Radner decides to take matters into his own hands and eventually finds an abandoned car where Barry keeps trophies from his killings, confirming Weiss as the culprit. Amidst the chaos, Bruce heads to a liquor store, realizing he's spiraling out of control and decides to get his act together. He reports back to the police station and dives back into work. But as he leaves, Barry starts tailing him. Turns out Bruce is Barry's next target. Bruce returns home with Barry on his heels. As Bruce opens the door, Barry ambushes him. Being a cop himself, Bruce puts up a fight, grabbing a hammer for defense. But Barry wrests it from him and brutally beats him to death. Afterward, Barry nonchalantly watches TV in Bruce's house, swiping his uniform before slipping away. Barry calls the reporter again, boasting about killing the third officer, Bruce. He demands his name be plastered in the press tomorrow, dubbing himself Blitz. Tom learns of Bruce's death and is stunned as Bruce was a close friend. Meanwhile, Barry loads his gear into a car's trunk. But Tom's informant has been tailing Barry and witnesses his every move. He sneaks up to the car and spots Barry's stash. The informant then contacts the same reporter, revealing his knowledge of the murder. He proposes a deal, $50,000 in exchange for evidence proving the killer's identity. The reporter agrees and asks for the meeting location. The informant provides the address of a parking lot. The reporter rushes to the location, where the informant presents the evidence in the car. Although the reporter is skeptical, he recognizes Bruce's uniform. Despite his doubts, the reporter agrees to pay up. Meanwhile, Barry observes the exchange from afar, realizing the informant has brought a reporter. As they leave, Barry swiftly removes all incriminating evidence from the scene. Elsewhere, Elizabeth visits Craig, inquiring about the man's fate. Craig informs her that he's alive but injured and hasn't disclosed his identity yet. Elizabeth offers her help, and Craig requests nothing more than a drink the following night. She agrees. On the other hand, at the bar, the reporter hands over the money to the informant before excusing himself to the restroom. The informant promises to reveal the killer's name upon his return. Little does he know, Barry has been tailing them. Barry follows the informant into the bathroom, causing the old man to tremble in fear at the sight of the killer. He pleads for mercy, arguing he hasn't divulged any names yet. But Barry shows no mercy, murdering the informant and snatching the $50,000 before slipping away. The reporter alerts the police about the car, but it's found empty. Tom and a fellow constable realize that all of Blitz's victims were officers who had previously arrested Barry, making Elizabeth his likely next target. After Elizabeth narrowly escapes an attack by Barry, who kills Metal in the process, the police intervene just in time. Tom and Porter decide to release Barry's picture to the media to draw him out, leading to a lengthy chase and eventually his capture. However, lacking concrete evidence, Barry is released after 48 hours of interrogation that yields no results. Exasperated, Tom and Porter hatch a plan to outsmart Barry, knowing he's out for revenge over their past confrontation in the billiard hall. Barry sneaks into Chief Inspector Bruce's funeral disguised in Bruce's uniform. During the service, Tom exits with Barry hot on his heels. Tom leads Barry to the top of a parking garage, only to reveal that he and Porter have swapped places along the way. Caught off guard by Tom's sudden appearance, Barry is swiftly subdued, disarmed, and overpowered. Realizing they lack enough evidence to legally convict Barry, Tom proposes a grim solution. With Barry now dressed as a police officer and Tom in possession of Barry's gun, they can stage Barry's death to appear as another of Blitz's victims. With this plan in mind, Tom executes Barry with his own weapon, ensuring the killer meets his end. After Barry's demise, Porter takes charge of disposing of all the incriminating evidence, ensuring no trace remains. With Barry eliminated, Tom resolves to teach the reporter a lesson. He releases the hounds on Dunlap, punishing him for his articles against Tom and the police, thereby concluding the movie. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this.